and I'm going to get into an area of conversation that's going to be maybe sensitive for a lot of liberal folks, but I think it's important to talk about it. And what got me I've been thinking about this and occasionally writing about it for a few years now, quite a few years, but what got me thinking about it again was a tweet from Adam Johnson. Adam is an excellent writer for fairness and accuracy in media, among other places, about media coverage, but what he brought to my attention through social media was this tweet from Joy Reid of MSNBC. It was the tweet on the occasion of John F. Kennedy's the anniversary of his assassination. Joy Reid wrote, "The Kennedys occupy a special place in our national consciousness. JFK had roguish gallantry. Jackie O had the glamour and pathos of a Hollywood star. RFK had the seeds of goodness and greatness. Teddy chased redemption. Americans love these kinds of narratives." She goes on to say, "America is a land of myths. These myths are what knit a disparate people together. Right now we feel rudderless because there's nothing soaring or mythic about our leadership. It's just crassness, greed, and grasping." Well, look, I get what she's trying to get at here, but at the risk of upsetting some people, I'm going to say it's time to let those myths go. It's time to start seeing the world as it is. First of all, the Kennedys, they do occupy a special place in our national consciousness, I think, for some people. But I think it's time, I think we now have reached a point in our national evolution, especially with the information that's accessible to us, at least for the moment, through the internet, to really absorb the nuance of what's going on around us. JFK had roguish gallery. Well, we also know that he sexually exploited at least one teenage girl and passed her on to a friend of his in the swimming pool for his sexual enjoyment as well. So he wasn't, I don't know if roguish gallantry is the word I would use for that. I would say, you know, Bobby Kennedy, I have great personal attachment to the story of Bobby Kennedy. He did have seeds of goodness and greatness. He was also, at times, a very rough player on the political stage. He helped Senator Joe McCarthy during the McCarthy hearings. So, look, people are complex. They're complicated. I think one of the things that's holding our politics back now is our attachment to personalities over issues. I think that what knits a disparate people together nowadays are our hopes for the future, the barriers and obstacles we are trying to overcome. I think rather than seeking that in idealized fantasy images of politicians, because let's face it, anybody who has the drive to run for president is probably not normal. Okay, I think that rather than focusing all our hopes and dreams on an idealized or romanticized politician as a figure, we should start looking to each other as a community. I wrote about this right before the Occupy movement. You know, everybody, and I don't want to say everybody, but everybody, a lot of people in the liberal world invested their hopes and dreams in Barack Obama, and Obama, for all his great gifts, was a deeply flawed president. I think the world will look back at the moment of his election as a moment of enormous opportunity to transform this country for the better, which he chose not to do. And I think the fact that he's already accepting $450,000 fees from Wall Street to give speeches shows that he was always looking to the future and cautious. So yes, he's a person with great qualities and great flaws, as are we all. And that, in essence, is my point, that we cannot invest our hopes and dreams in anyone. And by the way, the Hillary Clinton supporters who told the Obama supporters they were foolish to have such exaggerated dreams about Barack Obama, true. Many of them then turned around and invested the same kinds of hopes in Hillary Clinton. Now, I would say it's not about Obama, it's not about Clinton, it's not about my old boss Bernie Sanders. And by the way, to his credit, Bernie always said it's not about me, and I believe him. I agree with him. It's not about Bernie. It's not about Obama. It's not about Hillary or Bill Clinton. It's not about finding the next ideal personality. I have great feelings about Elizabeth Warren. I have great positive feelings about Bernie. But I think the way to view politicians going forward is not as leaders, but as partners to a grassroots, people-led movement or coalition of movements demanding change. You know, Joy Reid writes, Obama gave us that mythical quality too, particularly with his soaring rhetoric. It may seem weird, but America needs that. Presidents typically aim for it, the uniting power of myth-making. That itself is a myth, by the way. When John Kennedy took that fatal trip and fateful trip to Dallas in 1963, many people there despised him, although many loved him. We need to start seeing the world as complex, as nuanced, and we need to become a people who generate change within ourselves, by ourselves, for ourselves, viewing politicians not as people to be blindly followed, but as allies to be sought.